Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Neller, and I'm here to go over the spreadsheet project for business math for chapter 11. It's called the Ending Inventory Value Project. And what we're going to do with this Google spreadsheet is we're going to design a spreadsheet that's going to find the value of the ending inventory. And we're going to use all three methods that the book talks about, the weighted average method, the FIFO method, and the LIFO method. So first in, first out, and last in, first out methods. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a Google spreadsheet, and we've done this 10 other times this year, and then we'll title it Chapter 11 Ending Inventory Value. And you're going to put your name on it as well, so make sure you do the little dash and put your name. So we go to Google, make sure you're logged in with your school email, click on the 9 dots, click on Sheets, and then click on the plus to open a new blank spreadsheet. And then we will title this Chapter 11, Ending Inventory Value. And your name as well. Once you hit enter, Google starts to save it. You can decide if you want to star it or not so that it's easier to find. Okay. But here's the situation that we're going to be dealing with. We're going to pretend that we have a inventory record for shelving units. Okay, really doesn't matter what they are. And we're going to enter this information. You can see over on the right there, we have the inventory record. So it's got the beginning inventory of 58 units at $48.12. It's also got the ending inventory of 31 units. And then here you can see all the purchases that they made. So we're not going to be worried about how much they're selling or finding how much they made in income or anything like that. We're just going to keep track of the inventory here at the end. We want to find the value of it. Okay? So we have to set this up. So there's some information in this inventory record, like the date. So we're going to have to put that because you can see it starts at April 1st and it goes through June 30th. And then for the middle section where they're either starting with the beginning inventory or purchasing or having the ending inventory, we're just going to call that an explanation. Okay, kind of just a general heading for that section. But then we've got the quantities, that's how many units there are. And then we've got the cost of each of them or the price of each of them. And then we'll have the total value as well. So we're going to enter those headings into our first row of our Google Sheet. Okay. So in cell A1, we're going to type in the date. In cell B, we can do explanation. Helps if I spell it right. We'll have quantity, cost, total value. So those 5 headings, we'll select them. So just click on cell A1 and drag over until you get to E1. Let go of your mouse. You can make them bold. You can make the font bigger if you'd like to. You can also adjust the column width if you need to. So as we go through, we might need to do some of that as well. Okay, next we're going to enter in the beginning inventory. Okay, so it's kind of confusing looking up at this inventory record, kind of going back and forth in the document. But we've got a date of April 1st, we've got a beginning inventory of 58 units, and then a cost of $48.12. So that's what we're going to enter in. And I wrote down where we should be entering all that information. And then in the last cell, E2, for our total value, we'll program it so that it will find the value for us. And then that will help us for the rest of the inventory as well. So in cell A2, we're going to type in 4, and then like the backslash or the divide 1. That'll stand for April 1st. The explanation will be beginning inventory. The quantity, there were 58 of them. And you can just hit the tab button and that will take you over from one column to the next. The cost is $48.12. And then we're going to program in the total value. So to do that, we're going to type in equals. And then we're going to click on C2, which is the quantity. And then you have to do Shift 8 so you get the times in there. And then D2, which was the cost. And you can see that even before you hit enter, Google pops up your total there. It's kind of giving you like a little hint. Make sure you hit enter, and there's your total value. Okay, so that's our beginning inventory piece of information. Then we have to go through and we have to enter in all of our purchases. So there's 5 purchases altogether. But once we do one, it's going to be very repetitive for the rest of them. So if you have this printed out, or if you can do like a little split screen, that'll be very helpful since we have to go back and forth a lot. But we're going to enter that information for that first purchase into the next row. So in row 3. So the date on that was April 10th, so we'll do 410. This time we're going to call this a purchase. That's why I just made the heading explanation, because we're kind of explaining what it is. There were 35 of these shelving units, and they had a price of $53.90. Now here, when you type in the $53.90, the 0 goes away. So I do talk about how you can fix that with Google. So if you click on that cell, and then from the format menu, you want to select number and then number. So I'll show you that. So click on cell D3, go to format, and select number, number. And you can see how it shows you a number with like dollars and cents. It's got 2 decimal places there. There you go. And then that brings back that 0. Okay. And then to find the total value, just click on the cell up above, click on E2, and you notice that we get that blue rectangle that appears, and it's got that blue square in the corner. So we're going to click on that blue square and drag down to cell E2. And when we let go of the mouse, it will have our value there. But again, that also drops the 0 off, so we can do format, number, number. Now, you can do that for every cell where the 0 gets dropped, or once we get all of our information in there, you can highlight everything and then do the formatting all in one step. So I do explain that in the directions here as well. Okay, so now we're going to repeat that process for the rest of the purchases. So we have to do the April, May, and then the 2 June purchases. We're going to enter in those pieces of information to our spreadsheet. Okay, so we're going to go back to the date column. So the next date is 4/23. So it's a purchase. And notice once you start typing it, Google automatically fills in the word, the other word that you've typed in the spreadsheet with the first few letters. So once that pops up, just hit tab and it'll fill in the words for you. So it saves you a little bit of time with typing. Here it was 56 units, and they had a value of $50.10. And again, Google drops off that 0, but that's okay. We'll fix that. And then we're going to drop down the cell from up above. So we're going to highlight it, click on the blue square, and we're just going to pull it down so that it copies the programming from up above into the row that we're on now. Okay. And then we have the May purchase, so that's 5/11. And again, this was another purchase. Here there were 21, and they had a value of $58.12. Okay. Now, if you want to, you could wait until you get all of your quantities and costs typed in, and then you could select the E cell and drag it all the way down as well. So I can show that for the last few purchases here. The next one was on June 1st. There were 65, and they had a value of $46.05. And then 6/20. Purchase of 44. They had a value of $52.80. Okay, so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 purchases. Yep, all 5 of them there. Okay, so it matches, so make sure everything matches. Make sure you typed everything in correctly. Make sure you didn't miss any numbers, or maybe you looked at the wrong row or something like that. Now, we've got to do a couple things. We've got to bring our total down. I'm going to click on the cell E4. That was the last one where I had copied it down. Click on the blue square and just drag it down to E7. And there's a couple cells where Google has dropped off the 0 at the end. So I'm going to highlight. You could highlight all of them if you wanted to. And then from the format menu, select number, number. There we go. Now it looks like dollars and cents for each of them. It's going to round it to 2 decimal places. Okay. Now, before we enter in the last piece of information, we also have to put our ending inventory in. But before we do that, we're going to find the inventory's total quantity and total value, because that's going to help us with our weighted average ending inventory value. So we're going to enter in a total row before we do the ending inventory amount. Okay, so I'm not going to have a date in row 8, but I am going to go over to column B and just put total. Now, a new way that we're going to do this is to use the summation formula, or I guess I should say function, that's programmed into Google. So here it says from the insert menu, you're going to select function and then sum. So we have to do that after we highlight what we want to add up. Okay, so this saves us from having to type in equals sum cell C2 to cell C7 and then hitting enter. Okay, so this is just another way to do some adding. So if you highlight or select, so click on cell C2 and drag all the way down to C7 so that it's all highlighted in blue. That's called selecting it. Okay, just clicking and dragging. And then we're going to go to, what was it? Format menu? Insert menu. There we go. Go to the insert menu and select function. And then up at the very top, it's sum. And notice by the little function word, they have this little Greek letter called sigma. That means to add stuff up. And that's what sum means as well. Click on that. And Google types in the sum notation for you. And you just have to hit enter. Okay. So let's do that again for our total value here. We're going to select E2 to E7. Go to insert, function, and then sum up at the very, very top, and hit enter. Okay. All right, now we'll enter our ending value. Okay. So if I go back up, there's lots of scrolling here. June 30th was our ending inventory. Now they say that the ending inventory is 31 units. I'm going to change it a little bit, because if we leave it 31 units, we can't do all 3 of the ending inventory value methods. We can only do the weighted average. Okay, so we're going to do one minor adjustment. Instead of entering it in as 31, we're going to enter it as 61. Okay, so I have a little note here. The giving inventory says 31, but we're going to use 61 instead. Okay, I'm going to type in the date. We'll put in the explanation of ending inventory, and then we'll put in the amount of 61. Okay, and we just need these values in our spreadsheet so that we can do some calculations with them. So we need the ending inventory, and again, instead of 31, we're going to make it 61. Okay, so there we have our first chunk of information entered into our Google spreadsheet. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our weighted averages, and then our first in, first out, and last in, first out methods. So I have a note here. Now we're ready to find the ending inventory values. So the first one we'll do is the weighted averages, and I'm just going to abbreviate that as WA when we type it in. Okay. So again, we're going to have to put like 3 little areas in our spreadsheet where we're doing all three of these methods. And then we're going to have a couple headings here. We have to find the average unit cost. So that's why we had to do those totals. So to find the average unit cost, we're going to take our total value and divide it by our quantity. And then we'll be able to find our ending inventory value just by multiplying. So I'm going to leave row 10 blank. I'm going to go down to row 11. Or you could go down to row 12. I think I was off by a row when I was doing the directions. So we'll go down to row 12. Okay, we'll leave a couple spaces there. So let's just type in WA. And then we'll type in average unit cost. And then this is where we're going to do our programming for the average unit cost. So we're going to type equals, and then we'll click on E8, and then we'll divide by C8. Now E8 here, that's our total value, and C8, that's our total quantity, okay? So those totals that we found before, we're going to use them now. So we'll type equals, click on E8, divide by, and then click on C8, and hit enter. Now, again, for this cell, if you want to, you can do format. Where is it? Insert. Format, number. There it is. Format, number, number. And it will round it to 2 decimal places there for you. So it's got dollars and cents. Okay, so there's our average unit cost. Now we're set up to find our ending inventory value. Okay, so the next row down, we're going to type in ending inventory value, and then we'll program it. And basically, we just have to multiply. We have to multiply that average unit cost by how many we had in our ending inventory. Okay. So let's label this cell B13 ending inventory value. And that heading goes over a little bit, so I'm going to make column B a little bit bigger. All right, and now we're going to type in our programming. So we'll do equals, and we're going to click on C9, which is our amount of ending inventory, the quantity that we had, and then we'll do times, and then we're going to click on C12, which is what we just found, which is the weighted average unit cost, and then hit enter. And again, we can go to format, number, number, so that it makes it into dollars and cents for us. And I'm going to make that bold because that's our value. That's one of our answers. Okay, next method then is the first in, first out. Looks like FIFO there. Okay, so first in, first out method. I'm going to go to A15 and I'm going to type in that heading. Now here, I don't really have to put in any other labels. I just have to think about when we're doing the first in, first out method, I want to start at the end of my inventory, okay? So this means when the first ones that came in, the first purchases, are also the first ones to be sold. So the 61 that are left over in my inventory are going to come from my last purchases. So my very last purchase was on June 20th, and that was the 44. So I'm going to want all of those. I'm going to want all of those 44 at a value of $52.80 for a total of $2,323.20. So I want you to select all of those cells from C7 to E7, and you're going to copy them. So you could right click to copy, or you could go to the edit menu, do copy as well, or you could do Control C on the keyboard. And then we're going to go down to cell E15 and we're going to paste. So you can right click and paste, or you can do edit and then paste from the menu, or you can do Control V. So there's 44 of the 61 that I need. Now, There is a way that you could program the spreadsheet to automatically find this for you, but the programming is very complicated. It has a lot of programming languages in it. It talks about having ifs, and then if the value is greater than or less than this, then do this. And it's kind of complicated to program it in. I think for our purposes, it's just easier to pull up the calculator and say, okay, I need a total of 61 for my ending inventory. And I just counted 44 of them. So if I subtract 61 and 44, I need 17 more, okay? And those 17 have to come from my next purchase, my next most recent, okay? So not the 44 from June 20th, but the one up above it. So for now, I'm gonna highlight C6 through E6. And again, I'm going to copy those. I'm going to go down under the 44, so I'm going to go to B16, and I'm going to paste. But I don't want all 65 of them. I only want 17. So I'm going to double click on that 65 cell and make it 17. And when I hit enter, Google will automatically change that price for me. Okay. I'm going to scooch up for just a little bit so you can see this better. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to find the sum. Okay, so we're going to find the sum just like we did before. Okay, so we're going to select those two numbers that we're trying to add up, and then from the insert menu, we're going to do function sum. So I'm going to highlight D15 and D16, and then insert function sum, and then hit enter. Now notice when you do that, every time that you enter the sum, if you highlight the column and you enter the sum, the spreadsheet automatically puts it in the cell that's like at the bottom of the column that you were just summing, okay? So location is important here when you're doing a summation function this way, right? And then you can click on that number and you can make it bold. So you can see we've got two ending inventory values now, and the weighted averages is a little less than the first in, first out method. And we talked about that in the book as well, where the first in, first out method is actually a greater value. Okay? So the last one we have to do then is our last in, first out method. Kind of appropriate. That is our last method, and it's called last in, first out. So we're going to basically do the same thing. We're just going to look at different numbers in our spreadsheet. So I'm going to go to A19. And I'm going to do LIFO for my abbreviation. And again, I don't need any headings here. I just need values from what I had typed in up above. Now, since this is last in, first out, that means the last purchases are the first ones to be sold. So I'm going to go all the way up to the top of the information that we entered before. I'm going to start with my beginning inventory, and I'm going to highlight cells C2 over to E2. And I'm going to copy those, and then I'm going to come down to B19, and I'm going to paste. Okay. So that's the same amount of, or the same information that I had from up above. Now again, I need a total of 61 units. Okay, I have 58. I need a total of 61. Okay. So here we're going to think, okay, 61 minus 58, that means I need 3 more. And I need them from my next purchase. So I started with my beginning inventory. I'm going to go down 1 row to my next purchase. And it says that I have 35 of them here, but again, I only need 3. So I'm going to highlight C3 through E3 to copy them. Go down under my previous row of information from the last in, first out method. I'm going to paste them. And then I'm going to double click on B20, which is the 35, and I'm just going to make that a 3. Because again, I don't need all 35 of them, I just need 3. That way I've got a total of 61. Okay? If we wanted to, we could do a little sum of the amounts here, so we could make sure that we had 61. We could do that. Okay? So if you select those and then you go to your insert function sum, there you go. There's a total of 61. Do that here as well. Insert function sum. There we go. And then we've got to do that for our total here as well. So highlight D 19 and 20, insert function sum, hit enter, there's your total. I'm going to make it bold because that's your ending value. So again, notice that the ending value for the last in, first out method, that is the smallest value, okay? The first in, first out method, that's the largest, and then the weighted averages is in between those two amounts, okay? So that kind of makes sense that averages take the big and the small and find that middle ground between them. Okay. So that's the end of the project, was just to find the 3 values. So your spreadsheet should look a little similar to mine. When you upload this to Canvas, make sure that you select your file from your Google Drive. Don't upload my directions, okay? And again, as long as you do this and turn it in, it'll be worth 20 points. So it's got some new stuff that we haven't done yet in the Google spreadsheet activities. So hopefully you find that interesting and worthwhile, and hopefully it teaches you a few more things that Google can do for you, okay? And as always, we'll go over this in class, but if you have questions, let me know.